The film I will be analyzing is called the Pruitt-Igoe myth. This film is about the Pruitt-Igoe public housing complex in St. Louis. It was built to replace slum housing with modern, affordable public housing. The film argues that the failure of the complex was not due to the flawed architecture and the residents, but because of things like racial segregation, economic decline, disinvestment, etc. In the film, some of the main supporting points to these arguments were the following. First, the film brings up the point of the flawed architecture, like high towers and shared corridors, but the film argues that the actual issue was not that, but the low maintenance in the building and underfunding. This made even well-designed places unfit. Second point, the film brings up how everyone thought the residents of Pruitt-Igoe were criminals and irresponsible. The film argues this by having residents that formerly lived there tell their stories of the community, unity, and resilience. The film is trying to show that they were victims, not the cause. Third, the film brings up the point of the economic state of St. Louis and how the shrinking population and industrial base led to the declining tax base. Because of this, public housing budgets were cut and they had to raise the rent of residents. The film blames the city and the government for failing to invest in maintenance, security, etc. Fourth, and finally, the film brings up the policy problems with the project. The film argued that the policy didn't account for things like racial segregation and suburbanization. Analyzing the film and its arguments, I think that the strengths of their arguments were that they used people that personally experienced it and did interviews with them, which adds credibility and emotional depth to the film. Another strength was the fact that they did provide some well-supported alternative explanations that challenge the myth of Pruitt-Igoe. On the other hand, though, there are some weaknesses that I can see in the film's argument. First, the film relies a lot on emotional storytelling, which can be good, but also lacks data like crime rates, demographic shifts, etc. It seems they are using selective evidence which may not be getting diversity of experiences. The other flaw I want to analyze in the film is the lack of underdeveloped counterarguments. The film doesn't really include other public housing in its critiques, which could allow more credibility